Hi, this is Kurt, the Bariatric Carnivore. Let's talk about some free food options that you might have if you're beginning your carnivore journey. Look, let's face it. I mean, eating meat is going to cost more than just eating top ramen, but it is significantly more powerful for your overall health and well-being. It is nutritionally perfect food that is packed with lots of vitamins, minerals, everything you need to eat you can get from eating a cow, but it's going to cost more than eating processed foods. So how do you minimize the costs? So let's talk about two things. One, lowering the cost of eating carnivore, and number two, some free food that you may be passing up and you probably never thought of. So let's first of all talk about lowering the cost. Now, it is possible to, if you're really on a budget and you're just starting off and you're brand new to this, to live a carnivore lifestyle just by eating the lowest priced hamburger you can get at the grocery store. That is perfectly 100% nutritionally complete, and you'll thrive on it better than you would on processed food. But for people like me, who's kind of a foodie, that's not necessarily the best option for the long haul. But it can certainly get you going until you get things moving forward and you've saved up enough cash to be able to buy yourself a freezer. And if you're going to do carnivore for any extended period of time, I really recommend you get a freezer so you can buy your meat direct from the rancher at, which would be much lower cost, especially if you poke around. A lot of places, a lot of states, you will see cattlemen's websites for the Cattlemen's Association, and they have a direct-to-consumer link. And if you poke on that, you can call around, you can try out different ranchers, see who does the best food for the best price, and negotiate. I mean, it's amazing what you can get when you just ask around, say, well, you go for this much, for this much meat, and if you're willing to buy it in bulk at one time, they may be willing to make a deal with you and get stuff that's really cheap. And frankly, I don't think I'm doing all that bad as far as price is concerned. I mean, I think the best steaks in the entire state of Oklahoma. And I love my rancher, Potter Farms. I think does a tremendous job. And it's delicious beef. It is the best beef species for our state. And it's 100% hormone-free, grass-fed, and grass-finished. And the whole half a cow was $5 a pound. Now, think about this. I mean, the bulk of that's going to be hamburger meat, but if you go to Whole Foods and you try to buy grass-finished, grass-fed, finished, and hormonal-free hamburger, you're going to be paying at least $10 or more a pound, at a place like that. So you're getting really great quality meat at much lower cost. So that's step number one. Buy your meat by the cow. Number two, when you're talking to the place where they're going to prepare the meat, the meat processing plant, mine works with me. They call me up and say, okay, how do you want your steaks cut? I like mine about 1.5 inches thick. Do you want briskets? Do you want the roast, etc.? So we go through all that stuff up front. But I also tell them some other things. Number one is I like my meat about 70-30 or so for the hamburger meat. Many people, most consumers right now seem to have a preference toward 80-20 or very lean hamburger. I don't. I don't think it tastes as good, and frankly, I want the fat. I mean, that's nourishment and energy, and it helps with your hormones. There's a lot of good reasons why you don't want to go strictly low fat. So I don't want lean ground beef. So when you tell them that ahead of time, they know to throw the fat trimmings in with the ground beef and all the other stuff that they're doing. The lower grade cuts of meat, that's what's going into the hamburger meat, and they'll throw in more fat that way, and it gives it more flavor. So number one, make sure you're getting all the meat and trimmings that you possibly can get. Number two, don't let them throw away the bones. Most of the time, unless you ask them for it, they're going to throw the bones out because very few people have any use for soup bones. But I like the soup bones. I do a couple. I mainly use them to make bone broth. I'll take a set of bones, roast them, and then put them into my Instapot for 3 hours, and I get a very delicious soup out of it called bone broth. And when you do bone broth right, it comes out, when it cools off, it almost looks like a gelatin, but when you warm it up, it's a very thick, satisfying little drink. Have about a cup of it in the morning, and what's interesting about it is it doesn't seem to throw off my fasting time because it doesn't raise my blood sugar. I had a continuous glucose monitor on for a couple of weeks to test things out, and I'd have the bone broth. Didn't move the needle at all. Doesn't even look like, the body doesn't even register it as food, but it's pure collagen protein full of minerals, and I think tastes pretty good, and it's a great way of starting the day. So if you like, not everybody, bone broth is not everybody's cup of tea, but here's another thing you may want to use the bone broths for. If you put them in a pot and you stew them for quite a while, you're making beef stock. And why buy beef stock at the grocery store when you can get it for free just by putting some bones in a pot for a while? So don't throw away the bones. Now, the next thing you're probably going to throw away, unless you ask for it, is the organ meat, particularly the tongue, heart, and the liver. Now, you may not like these. They may, to me, I like liver. I haven't really tried beef tongue yet. Beef heart was okay, but there's a couple of options for those. Number one is, if your butcher will work with you, you may want to grind it into the ground beef and mix a little bit those organs into hamburger, and you're going to get some very nutritious meat at, again, much lower cost. So you'll get more hamburger meat out of something that's wasteful, and you get all the nutritional benefits that come from eating organ meats. So that may be an option for you. And frankly, you will never taste it. There's no, because it's so relatively little mixed in with so much other hamburger meat, it's not going to affect the taste. But not everybody really likes that. So what else can you do with it if you don't like to eat it and all that? Well, you've got some options. Number one is feed it to your pets. Your dog will love that stuff, and it's free dog food when you think about it. The Inuit Indians often did not eat many of the organ meats of their kills, but they always gave them to the dogs, and the dogs loved them, and the dogs will thrive. So think about that as another possible option. If you don't have a pet, you may want to give it to a friend of yours and feed them and make them, get a healthier neighbor who won't poop as much. That's the cool thing about giving dogs non-fatty meat, is they don't poop as much, and they get full and they get healthier. So those are two potential options for utilizing the organ meat. So don't let them throw that away without you thinking about what you want to do with it, and utilize it to the best of your ability. Now, one of my favorite things that I've found of late is I've noticed that there were times when I felt this need for more fat, and I don't know why. But I think it's because, after doing this for a few years, I'm very aware of the cravings, and frankly, you can tell by your poop. I mean, if your stools are coming out really kind of hard, it means you need more fat in your diet. But beyond that, sometimes I just feel this need for more fat in my diet. And I saw this podcast where they talked about beef cracklings, and beef cracklings are delicious. You just basically put pieces of fat trimmings in the frying pan and you cook them, and they almost like a pork rind, and they taste delicious. And whenever I get that hankering for more fat, I'll just fry up a bunch of those, and they taste great. Now, there's a couple ways of getting beef trimmings. You can go to the butcher shop or something like that and ask them for beef trimmings, and they will charge you a few bucks a pound for beef trimmings. But you can also get them for free if you know a guy at a barbecue place, like I do. So a friend of mine is the manager of a barbecue place, and I asked him one time, I said, what do you do with all the fat trimmings from the brisket? And he said, we throw it away. And I said, do you mind if I have some of it? Because I'd like to make it for beef cracklings. And he said, sure, no problem, come by tomorrow. And he gave me like 2 big pans of it that, I just put in Ziploc bags, put it in my freezer, cut them up from time to time, and we'll make beef cracklings out of it. And what's really cool about his stuff is it's already seasoned. I mean, he's got salt, garlic, and all that stuff already on the thing, paprika, the whole 9 yards to go into barbecue briskets. And when it fries up, it just tastes delicious. There's a great little snack food. And again, virtually, frankly, zero cost. And it helps supplement my diet from time to time. Speaking of supplements, if you don't like liver and heart and stuff like that, but you still think you need it or want it, don't buy dehydrated stuff. When you get that cow, what you can do is you can cut that up into small little Ziplocs, put it in your freezer, and then in the morning, figure out about 2 ounces or so of it. And this, some people have done this, is they take that frozen liver, break it up into like pill-sized things, and then swallow 2 to 4 ounces of liver, before it's cooked. So they're getting, good raw liver into their system. They're getting all the vitamins from it, but they don't have to deal with the taste. So, that is also another potential way of utilizing the liver, the heart, etc., that may be very helpful. Look, at least 60% of everybody that responded to a carnivore study done at Harvard Health do not eat organ meat, and they are fine. But some people, particularly those who are starting off, really kind of feel this need, almost a drive to have a little bit more, and getting the extra vitamins and minerals that come from liver, particularly when you're starting and you're not particularly healthy, may be a good thing. And if you can get it, free, and you don't, if you don't like the taste, but you can just do pill form, that might work for you. And a little bit of liver every day instead of paying for one of those expensive liver supplements where they dehydrate it for you ahead of time. Much cheaper option for a lot of folks. So think about that as a potential cheap, free option to help you improve your health, utilizing the cow that you already get. So we've gone over the potential of utilizing the bones, the organ meat, which you can mix into hamburger, or you can cook separately or give to pets. You can utilize liver frozen as a supplement. That's a real possibility. Don't let them throw away the bone the bones. And we've talked about a way of getting free fat trimmings from maybe a barbecue place who sells barbecue brisket and stuff like that. One other thing that you may not realize is that when you fry up a bunch of those beef cracklings, you often end up with a big pan full of beef tallow. And look at the costs at Whole Foods or something like that for beef tallow. That's pretty expensive stuff. And you can just strain that out and save it in a mason jar or something like that, and you've got something that you can grease your pan with. I mean, if you save enough of it, if you fry anything and, utilize beef tallow to do your frying in, you will find it tastes delicious. It doesn't add a lot of flavor to stuff, but it is, I think, the best stuff to deep fry anything. Occasionally I'll make these things called Scotch eggs, where you take a boiled egg and you cover it with some batter type stuff, eggs and pork type cracklings around it, and you can make a Scotch egg if you deep fry it in beef tallow, and it's delicious, and it doesn't add a lot, doesn't change the flavor very much, and it's great. And if you catch fish and you want to fry them up, don't fry them in corn oil or vegetable oils. Use the beef tallow that you've got from everything else. Save your fats. Your fats are free food when you think about it, and they're much more nutritious than the vegetable oils that you're going to be paying money for at the supermarket. And you're going to be only improving your health utilizing that stuff. So when you think about it, that cow is not just $5 a pound for just meat. It's got a lot of other stuff too. That's basically free protein and fats that will only work to keep you healthy. at very low cost. I mean, carnivore is going to be maybe a little more expensive than eating processed food, but it doesn't have to be exorbitantly expensive. And with a little bit of thought, you can save yourself some bucks too. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I hope you enjoyed this message. Please like and subscribe. That tells the YouTube algorithm that other people are getting value out of watching these videos, and they will pass it along to more people. I try to put out a new video every single workday. I will talk to you tomorrow.